there, everybody. My name is Paul Schneider, and I'm the owner of Brick River Technologies, and we've been around since 2001, and we are a unique company in that we are a very niche software developer, and our software is tailored to United Methodist conferences. And I have with me today, Barbara. You want to go ahead?
Sure, I'm Barbara Carney. I work for Brick River. I worked in the New York conference for several years using the Brick River product, but I've been with Brick River for about 20 years now.
Laura?
Thanks, Paul. I am Laura Jaquith Bartlett. I do not work for Brick River, but I am a big fan. I am the Ministerial Services Manager for the Oregon-Idaho Annual Conference. I am a deacon and have my fingers in a lot of different pies in the annual conference and use Brick River for nearly everything that I do. Lisa?
Hi, I'm Lisa Wink, and I am the Communications and IT Director for the Wisconsin Conference. And I am one of the database managers here in Wisconsin. So I do have my hands in all of the aspects in Brick River and am a huge proponent of the software.
Awesome, thanks. And so Brick River, again, has been in business for a really long time, and the software is ginormous. So we are going to, or I'm going to try to give you a high-level overview, or we are, of all the different parts. So let me give you a quick little history. Brick River started in 2001, but I actually started working for conferences back in 1997 when my father-in-law bumped into the communications director at a lunch line in the New England conference. He was my father-in-law was a United Methodist, pastor and district superintendent. And anyway, I built this online database for the New England conference. And then back in 2001, I built this Brick River software and I made it configurable. He really liked it and he started telling other conferences about it. And I'll show you the screen where we are now. We have 32 conferences as our customers. And we have about 25, I think about 30 of them use Brick River as the primary database, if you will, for the conference. And Brick River started out as just a very generic software platform. And over the years, we added different layers that are United Methodist Conference specific. So back in around 2015, I decided that we would create a data model on top of Brick River that we call the UMC data core. And I'll show you that in a sec. But let's just take a quick peek here at Brick River in terms of the modules. So we've got the UMC data core, and this is the database that is United Methodist Conference specific. And then over the years, because I'm constantly every day interacting with people from all different conferences, we also have GCFA as a client, so the whole denominational database is running on Brick River. We have different modules. We have a people portal, which we'll talk about. We have an appointment making tool. We have FormBytes that helps handle the charge conference use case. And then we have ClergyCom. And a few years ago, we started an advisory panel to help do product management of the UMC modules. And so here's the advisory panel. We meet every 2 weeks. And we go through all of the different features and functionality in this whole behemoth of a software solution that is Brick River. So I'm going to quickly transition. I'm going to talk a little bit about, this is the Brick River software as it exists now. We're working on a version 2 as well that's a little prettier. And if we take a look here, at its very core, Brick River is a contact management system. So, all kinds of different things. It is a content management system to store content. It allows you to run one or many websites. It's got an email newsletter tool in it. It's got an event registration system in it, and it also has a donations management system in it. But it's not just generic. So if we look here at the drop down here in this fake conference, these are all UMC conference specific tables, if you will, right? So if we look at people, churches, districts, all kinds of different areas. If I look under UMC, I can see that it manages appointments and leadership assignments and education history. So let me jump into probably the two primary tables are the people table. So if I go into this fake person here, I'm just going to give you a bird's eye view of a lot of the different areas. You can manage, basic contact information here that you would in any type of system, but then you get into UMC specific stuff. So here we are managing appointments. Here we are with what's the appointment time and what's the clergy conference relationship and what's the denomination, clergy status log. Now we could spend hours and hours on this. Certified candidate histories and candidacy tracking, and I mean your head would spin with all of the stuff that we manage here. Compensation is managed through this, performance metrics, church performance metrics, attendance, online attendance, professions of faith, baptisms, all that kind of stuff. Again, education history, trainings and certifications is managed here, CEU tracking, and the list just goes on and on, clergy relationships, on and on and on. And then we jump into churches as well. And this is, again, a fake conference. And let's jump into Brentwood. Okay. And again, what's its mailing address? What's its physical location? And again, what district is it part of? What are its satellite campuses and GCFA numbers and all of this kind of stuff, ethnicity, different things like that. Who's currently assigned there? Who's currently appointed there? Barbara, Lisa, Laura, do you want to chime in on any of the things I've said so far?
One of the quirky sort of language parts in Brick River is the word assignment, leadership assignments. You see that both in people and in churches. And what that really refers to, it can be very broad, but basically the people who are on your committees. So conference-wide committees or church committees. Again, very broad, but and more that you could do with that.
And I was going to say, Paul, you might want to point out the sorting and filtering features in the people records and the church records, because that is really, I think, an essential tool that we use a lot of how do we sort by leadership assignment? How do we search by currently appointed, and the different ways that you can do that using the filter fields?
That's a great point. Yeah, this is because I'm from New England, I'll say it's a wicked powerful sort of querying tool that, again, kind of your head would spin if I went into the deep details on it. But for every one of these screens, these views, whether you're looking for people or whether you're looking for churches or appointments or districts or all of these different conference specific things, you as a user are presented with a set of handy filters like, hey, I want to find everybody that's, let me see, currently appointed. Great, here's everybody that's currently appointed, and I want to go ahead and email them. But wait a minute, you know what I want? I also want, their appointment information, what church they're in and what district. So that is, I'm not going to go and do a full demo there, but what people tend to do a lot is they say, you know what, I'm looking for everybody that's appointed to this district and is serving maybe in this position. I want all the pastors, let me see, I don't even know if I have any, this is a fake conference. I don't even know if I have anybody like, oh, great, here's all of the pastors, in this district. And that's maybe not, like, what's a common search, Lisa or Laura, that you guys do?
I think one of a helpful one that I assisted a colleague with recently was cross-cultural appointments. So we want to filter our clergy by ethnicity and our churches by ethnicity. And when they don't match, so it's a cross-racial appointment, we want to know about that. I mean, that kind of thing. And then you can narrow down your searches. Okay, I've got all the whatever's in this area, but I actually want to narrow down to only the women, or I want to know the ones who are over this age or under this age. It's just incredibly powerful. And it's one of my favorite things when somebody comes to me and says, I want a list of people who, and I'm like, ooh, yes, let me get in there and figure out how to get that list for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And the way I try to tell conferences to use it is usually in a conference, it's used by a lot of conference people, and there are power users, and then there are some folks that maybe not as technical as others. And so there's kind of some folks are resourcing others. So a power user, let's say it's Laura, and somebody comes to her and says, boy, I wish I could find X, Y, and Z. So Laura might come in and push a few buttons here on the left from these handy filters, and she might even dive deep and say, I want everybody by every single, like by very specific fields, and then I want to put different fields on the report itself. Well, she might have done 20 clicks, right? And she had to think about it for a few minutes. Well, what you can do is you can then save searches, and you can share those searches out with users or groups. So a typical use case is like maybe the database manager or one of the more powerful district administrative assistants might make a report and then share it out with all the other district administrative assistants. And so then that way, those AAs can just come on in and click their save search and say, oh, wow, look, here's the everybody that's, I don't even know. I clicked on this fake this fake report here. I don't even know what I'm clicking on this because this is just a fake conference, but let's say that this was a legit report. They can just come in, click it, get it, and then they can email everybody, or they can download it, or they can make name tags, or they can put it right on their home screen. So that's some of the powerful querying of the Brick River system. And again, I think that touches on what I wanted to achieve, which is I wanted to give the introduction and the history and a little bit of the data core. Before I transition over to Event Reg, does anybody want to chime in on anything I might have missed?
I think one of the cool things about the queries and the reports and the save feature, and that you can share it, is that is a dynamic report. So if changes are made to that report and someone goes in later and pulls up that saved report, it's going to be dynamic. It's going to be updated with the most current information, which is a bonus. And not a lot of people in our conference recognized that at first. They thought once they saved the report, they had to recreate it if something changed. So that's a beautiful piece of that.
I think what I would add is that you talked about the power users who just have their fingers in everything, and then there are the more let's say casual users who have a very specific reason. They're an office admin who's really just doing registrations and some emailing maybe. There's a really complex and deep set of permissioning that can happen in Brick River, so that you don't have your casual users being able to change anything in the database, and your power users can, and like everything in between. And the power users, whoever's in charge of the database, can set those permissions. So that's really, really helpful.
Awesome. Okay, all right, so now I'm going to transition to just talk a little bit about the event registration module. So again, I had told you that Brick River, the software has all those different areas, the contact manager, it has the content management system. You can run one or many websites. So for example, in Greater Northwest, before I talk about Event Reg, Greater Northwest, they are running a conference website for Oregon, Idaho, and then they're running maybe 6 or 7 different camp websites. So you can have some conferences are running a conference site and 6 district sites. So, you can run a few different websites on the Brick River system. And then one of the other sort of very, very much used areas of the Brick River system is this registration management system. And it began as a kind of a purely an event registration system. And, from very small events to, like little workshops or whatever, to the big annual conference. And it's also a forms system. So what the event registration system allows you to do is create, I don't know, incredibly complex forms. So let me just show you something here. If I click on the reg and I go down here to the form share, this is another unique thing about the Brick River platform, is we allow our customers to save their forms into a share, which saves other conference customers hours, days of time. So here, for example, like we can kind of shop. I mean, I don't even know. Here's Alabama West Florida's 2023 annual conference registration. Laura or Lisa, have you shared out any forms that might have conditionality in them that you know of off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head.
No, I will say
Sorry.
the forms that I like to grab if I can would be around some denominational reporting forms where I want to get it off of a fillable PDF and into the reg form to make it way easier for them to access it and for us to receive it. And it's really nice if somebody else has already done the annual report of the deacon and I can just go in and grab that. And it automatically puts Greater Northwest's branding on it. And Paul mentioned Greater Northwest. I said, I'm from Oregon, Idaho. We have 3 conferences in the Greater Northwest, and we actually all share Brick River together. So that would be a whole nother video about how 3 conferences share one database. And that's not this one though.
Yeah. And
What is nice here though, Paula, is you can search by a type of form or you can search by a conference. So if you put in Wisconsin in your search feature, it will bring up any of the forms that we've shared from Wisconsin. So if we are on an advisory panel and someone says, oh, I shared that form through FormShare, and I don't remember what they called it, I can go and search by that conference and find the form.
And I used a bunch of these when I was creating forms for the Mountain Sky Conference recently. And Lisa already did the work, certifiedly serve an annual report to the charge conference. Well, it's pretty much everything there is what was needed. So that just, it saves a lot of time to not have to redo a form that somebody else has already done.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I'm proud of that I've done, and just in a unique position in the sense that I'm constantly talking to 35 different conference people, on a daily and weekly basis. And I hear things like Laura might say something, or somebody else might say something, and somebody else will say a different thing, and I'll say, these folks are saying the same thing here. Can we turn that into a module, or can we, you know what I'm saying? So that helps the whole in terms of idea sharing, right? But also efficiency in terms of time and money, right? So a lot of these modules have come as the result of, I call them bulk buys. So the people portal started out as an idea. It started out as Mississippi and the Holston Conference said, boy, we really need a way for people to update their information. I said, 2 people saying the same thing. Well, what if you guys contributed some amount of money, and then Brick River takes a little risk, you take a little risk, and then we sell it to the other conferences as they come along. That's how this solution has taken shape over the last, 20 years or so. And anyway, if we get back here to the event registration system, you can see quickly that it's not just an event registration system, it's a form system too. And as you can see here in Wisconsin, all kinds of forms, all kinds of charge conference forms. And a lot of these functionalities have a particular little spin or a little bit of extra stuff that you won't find in a generic module because it was founded and created and birthed through serving a United Methodist conference. So for example, well, I mean, I'm just gonna pick this, I don't even know. I'll say, give me a copy. So I just got a copy of this 2023 annual conference on-site registration. I have no idea anything about it, but I'll just go in right now and I'll search on 2023. So here it is. And all kinds of reports and people pay online and all this stuff. But when you come in and you build out a form, you can see that there are registration periods, there's early periods, standard and late. I don't think that would have happened if we weren't serving conferences when we created it. So you can have different pricing. Oh, there's early pricing, standard, late. And then some of this, there's group registration that's very powerful and unique. This event reg module competes sort of at the highest level in terms of other event registration systems. You can track attendance, you can do ticketing. And then one of the things that you can do too is you can allow people to come back later, allow changes to submitted forms. That's not normal. The reason why that exists is because conferences needed to allow people to register for things, like maybe churches to register a group, but then come back later and say, oh, this person's coming, that person's coming, different things like that. And then these forms are created by lots and lots of non-technical people. And so I'm just gonna pick this. I don't even know if there's any conditionality in here. It doesn't look like there is, but you can add all kinds of different question types from, text boxes, yes, no's, there's grid questions, which is a new feature, and then you can add conditionality, like, oh, if you say that you're clergy, then go ahead and ask 20 clergy questions. If you say you're laity, ask 20 laity questions. And it all adds up, and again, group registration, so you could come in and you could register yourself and your spouse, or yourself and all the people that are coming from your church. So that's just a kind of a quick overview of the event reg module. Did I miss anything there before I turn it over to Barbara to talk about form bites and charge conference? Excellent. Okay, so Barbara, over to you.
So it's a good segue because Form Bites is a module that allows users to create and manage groups of registration forms. So you create your registration forms and then you put it into this centralized hub of forms. And that way you can track who has and who has not filled out their forms. So it works really well for Charge Conference. So I'm going to share Mountain Sky with their permission to show you what they did this year for Charge Conference forms. So I go into Reg, Form Bites, and they did 6 different form bites. And some of this has to do with who fills it out. So for instance, this one is form bite for all clergy serving in the conference, the Ministerial Education Fund. So that everybody who is a clergy person can apply for ministerial education funding. Then there's 2 of them, this one and this one, that are for the senior or the lead pastor to fill out. So there's only one form in here for the senior or the primary pastor. So we invited all the churches, and not all of them are doing it this year because they're just really testing it. But here is, if I go into the test church, and I start this form. Here's all the explanation about what's in this form, but this is a registration form specifically for that FormVite. So there's the comprehensive form, and here are the instructions and the form. So the report of the pastor, and this is all for the senior pastor. Then there is the report of the Committee on Nominations. So this is the grid question that Paul was talking about. So these are church officers. So they click one and they fill in who the church office secretary is. Then they pick another one and who's witness ministries, etc. Then here's information about their safe sanctuaries policy, um, setting the salary for the appointed clergy, which is in the people portal in compensation. So this was just to say that's where you're going to go and put your compensation in. And then they can sign it. And then there were other forms for them to forward to certified lead servants. So here's the one that I borrowed from Lisa and then updated it for the Mountain Sky Conference. So they have other FormVites. So they have housing and reimbursement resolutions to be filled out by the clergy. And then here's one that has several different forms in here. Continuing formation, annual report, pastor disaster preparedness, appointment advisory, limited itinerary request, clergy profile. So when these are filled out, you'll see here that Bozeman UMC has started, and here are the 4 that they started working on. So you keep track. Now this one, Casper, Christ UMC, they submitted it for approval. So they did all of these forms and they've submitted it. So this gives you the tracking of who's done what. And then you can then go in and approve what they've submitted. So it's really powerful as far as being able to see, here's my church conference forms. You have to fill these all out. So I see I have 6 that started. Here are the 6 that started. Some have submitted it for approval. So it's great for tracking. And then your DSs can reach out and say, you know what, you haven't done anything yet. You need to get this done because your church conference is coming up. So I think it's just a really nice system for keeping track of church conference forms. And you can use it for other forms too, but that's primarily what it is. Lisa and Laura, anything? How do you use your FormVites?
We use them for church conferences. We also use them in some ways that I'm going to touch on when I start talking about the people portal in a minute or two.
Awesome.
Our Board of Ordained Ministries has started using them for people who are going through the ordination process. And so there are various FormVites that they have to fill out as they go through the process. So our chair of the Board of Ordained Ministries is very excited to be using the FormVites for that. One thing when you were talking about how you could filter it by started or not submitted yet, or not even started at all, is you can filter that and then you can send a friendly email to all those people very simply from that screen. And so that saves a lot of time of trying to figure out who did, who didn't, who do I need to reach out to. You can just filter it by that and then send the email to all of those that you filtered.
Great.
Great. Okay, so we are now going to segue to Laura.
Yeah, perfect segue actually, because FormVites are one of, and a significant one of the tools that are accessible for our folks through their people portal. When we introduce the people portal to our primarily clergy, but there's some laity that use it as well, to get over the, wait, I have to do this online, I have to use a computer, I could never do that sort of thing. We said, your doctor's office probably has some kind of online portal that you use to get your medical records, to check on your appointments, to pay your bills, to do a variety of things that are customized to you. You have a unique sign in and you get there and you have the information that you need to interact with. And then they were saying, oh, I guess I could do something like that. So right now I'm talking about here's how folks who are the annual conference members, how they would access it. They would go to our website, and at the top of essentially every page, they can click on login, and that's going to give them a little bit of an explanation about the People Portal if they're new to it. We created step-by-step written instructions for how to access their People Portal, and we did a video of it as well. And we also said, if that doesn't work, contact your district office. So we put a lot of energy into making this, what was a very new system for folks, to make it really super accessible and easy to do. So then they can just log in. If they've already been here before, they put in their username and password. If not, they can get help logging in. And again, our step-by-step instructions tell them all about that. So that's how you get in if you're like a regular person. However, if you're a back-end user like I am, and everybody here on the training video, and what we hope you would be, a back-end user, you have a different way to access not only your own People Portal, if you happen to have one, but everyone's in the system. So you're going to go in through the people records and look up whichever person's People Portal you want to get into. In this case, it's our very popular person in Oregon, Idaho, named Fake Person. So you click right here in the top right-hand corner of their people record, and it's going to open up the portal for Fake Person. It says their name right at the top, which I think is a nice welcoming touch. We have a lot of information here to get people oriented to the People Portal, especially if it's their first time. Over on the left side in this black box, there's a great menu that is basically customizable by you. So what is the information you want these people to have? What is the information you want all the people to have? What is the information you want just these people to have? And you can customize how the information gets there, and whatever you've said, I want these folks to get it, it's going to be appear as this link over here. So now I'm going to give you, so Fake Person has a pretty robust list of menu items here that they can access. So I'm just going to briefly show you some of these things. One of the best things is this one right here, the clergy directory, which I am not going to click on, because though Fake Person is in fact very fake, Fake Person has access to a clergy directory of real people with real personal contact information that I'm not going to show on a video. But one of the great things about having that clergy directory in the People Portal is that it's essentially behind the firewall. So somebody who's stumbling upon our website is not going to get contact information for all these folks and their photos and where they're appointed to. All that kind of information is in the clergy directory. And if you have the credentials to get into your People Portal and you've been permissioned to get it, for us, it's all our clergy who have access to it, then you do have it, and it's a great tool. Paul, or maybe it was, I think Paul mentioned really early on the ability to let people update their contact information. We have a little bit different twist on that. So if I were to click right here and update contact information, this is a basic part of the People Portal module. And you go in and there's all of the different fields. You're going to see what is already in there. I have to say Fake Person's personal people record is a little sparse, as you can tell. So Fake Person might want to say, ooh, I have a lot more information that should be in here. I want to update it. Now, many conferences allow their people to update it right in this screen, and then it goes directly into their people record. We are very cynical in Oregon, Idaho. We don't think people are capable of doing a good job of, let's say, spelling their own name correctly. So we say, use this link to update your contact information. It opens up a regular registration form with all of those fields that they just saw, and whichever one they want to update, they're going to say, oh, this is my preferred first name. I wish you'd call me real instead of fake. And then when they submit it, the form is designed to alert what the district admin for the district. They will have to put in their district, and then the district admin goes in and makes the changes. And we're pretty certain our district admin can spell names correctly. So that's what we do with the updating. There are other pieces that we say, I think it would be okay for you to update that yourself. Education history being one. So fake person doesn't have any education history, but we're going to say you went to Boston University School of Theology, coincidentally my own alma mater. And then you would have the opportunity to put in degrees and all of that sort of stuff. So as soon as you click save, then if you went back, you, the Brick River user, go back and just update that record. And here I'm going to use one of those nifty things that allows me to navigate inside the record. I'm going to hit trainings right here and go down to that place where education history is. So now we can see that fake person went to BU School of Theology. It's that instantaneous. Easier to do actually than to say, apparently. There's a trainings and certificates place. I really like this because right now we're in a big push in Oregon, Idaho at getting people to conform with their required trainings. So they can go right into their people portal and actually see what the trainings were, when what the expiration date is. Oh, I have a background check. I don't need another one until January of 26. Here's my actual certificate that you could click on it and say, oh yeah, I did get that certificate. And now I know that officially it's there. What else? I'm going to check my notes. Oh, here's where we get to the form bite part. This is great. So fake person happens to be appointed into extension ministry and therefore is required to do an extension ministry report. So I am able to say on the back end, everybody who's in extension ministry is going to be assigned this form bite. They will be invited into this form. And then I put the form bite onto the back end of the people portal where anyone could get at it, except that only extension ministers have been invited to it. So if you went to, let's say, my people portal, you would not see that form because I'm not an extension minister. Fake person apparently is. And so fake person can click on it right there. And then begin you saw with Barbara's demonstration, you then do the form. And then switching into my mode as the power user of Brick River, I can go into the extension ministry form bite and see whether or not fake person has started their form or has submitted it. And then Lisa, I think, noted that their Wisconsin BOM has started using form bites to do tracking in the various candidacy and application processes. So fake person is in the process, a little odd since fake person's also currently an extension minister, but just use your imagination. Fake person is also in the process for certified candidacy. So they go into their own people portal, click on it. Here's all the summary of instructions about what they're going to do. And then they see all of their forms here. So they themselves can keep track of what they've done quite easily by looking at their list of forms that are required for candidacy. And they can see, so this one hasn't even been started because my only choice is start this form. Up here, apparently I did start it and I can click to take a look at what I've done in this form. This one I did, but required questions are missing. By clicking right there, I can see what I have not yet filled in on my form. And then on the other side of the equation, the user side, not the fake person, but the real people who are administering the system can go in and get reports. What I love about this particular thing is that I can generate a report for fake person once they have their, well, at any point in the process, I can generate a report with a link. I can give that link to the District Committee on Ordained Ministry and say, all right, fake person is coming to you for an interview next month. Use this link and you can see all of their submitted paperwork. It's not literally paper, of course. I love People Portal, in case you can't tell. It's just really been a game changer for us. And one of the great things about getting the candidates to start using it for certified candidacy and then for applying for provisional membership and applying for full membership, by the time they're actually a clergy member of the annual conference, we no longer have to talk them into the People Portal being a good thing and here's how you use it. They've been using it since the very beginning. So it's going to take a while for the filter down, but we're really excited about that.
Great job, Laura. Okay, so that means that we segue into Lisa now to talk about the clergy compensation module.
Sure. So I'll give a brief history on how we came to having the clergy comp module in Brick River. Every conference was doing their clergy comp forms differently. Some were using Excel spreadsheets, some were using paper forms. As Paul mentioned, we have this advisory panel, and at one of the advisory meetings, we started talking about how it sure would be nice if we all had one module that was uniform and consistent for UMC, because for the most part, we all ask the same questions on the clergy comp form. Paul, though, was a little frustrated because every conference has to do something a little bit different. We couldn't just be the same. But we worked with Brick River for about a year to develop this clergy comp module, and they were able to make it uniform but customizable for each conference. So, you know, depending on if you offer health insurance or you don't, or if your CPP or CRSP pension number percentages are different from one conference to the next, you're able to change that information in your clergy comp module so it's specific to your conference. So since Laura talked about the People Portal, I'm going to share my screen and jump into that because that is where we permission this for our clergy. So only our clergy will see compensation in their People Portal. So here is the People Portal for ON Demo. And when the clergy go in here, they are going to click on compensation, and it's going to show their name and that we have a compensation filing period open for 2025. They click on this. It says the filing season open, create a new compensation. And the beauty in this form is that it is primarily foolproof. As long as the clergy knows their clergy status and their appointment status. So this is all driven based on the choices that they make on these two fields. So if I'm an elder in full connection and I am appointed full-time, the form is designed to bring up all of our health plan options, and these are all customizable each year. I'm able to change this drop down to reflect our current health plan and dental plan and vision plan. If I am only appointed quarter time, you can see that that goes away. Those options are no longer available to me. So that is one of the beauties of the clergy comp form, is it is driven by what they enter here. So they would enter their base salary, choose their plans. This total value, so total salary value is a formula. They can't change that. One of the problems we had in Wisconsin is they would go into the Excel form and change formulas. I don't know why, but they did. So we have made this so that they can't change any formulas. So if I add in 50,000 here, you can see that it is calculating as I go. If I choose a health plan, a dental plan, and a vision plan, I can see that the total clergy portion that I'm going to have to pay as a clergy is $4,020. Say that my church pays that. You can see that this is updating as it goes. It is taking into account their cash salary plus any of their insurance premium. It's also automatically calculating their CRSP and CPP based on the percentages that I put into the back end formulas. They can then fill in all of these. We require in Wisconsin that the church pays a minimum of $900 towards continuing education. So if I enter in only $100 here, it's not going to let me submit this. This is red saying that it has to be at least $900. And then we come down with our total compensation package. Once all of it is filled out, they hit save, let me just change this so that I can save this. Oh, we did make it required that they have to put in their church conference dates. Oh, and housing. Do they have a parsonage or a housing allowance? If they have a housing allowance, then the field pops up to enter in the housing allowance. So you can see that we have built in safety nets so that if they don't fill in some of the form, then it doesn't allow them to, oh, I'm pastor signature. So then once we hit save as the clergy, and I go back into Owen Demo's people portal and go into compensation, and I click on the name again, now I can either edit the compensation, which I can't, I think I hit submit, but I can print out the report. If I am appointed to a 2-point or 3-point charge, I'm able to go in here and manage the splits. So if Owen Demo was appointed to more than one church, I would have multiple church names up here, and I could say that each church was paying either a dollar amount or a percentage based on how I set up my back end of my clergy compensation. So they are able also to do this piece of it. So now I want to show you how you do it if you are on the conference side and you are going to be approving the compensation. So I, as a compensation manager, will have this on my people portal that says compensation conference. And when I click on that, it brings up all the people who have submitted their compensation records for 2025. You can filter this by previous years if you want to. You can also filter it by districts. You can see the ones that have been submitted, the ones that have been approved. You can filter it all that way. You can go in and look at their form, and then you can go ahead and approve it. Once the DAs have reviewed it, they will then approve it. So that's kind of like the clergy compensation in a nutshell. But I do want to show you how easy it is to permission the things for clergy comp. So under UMC comp, we go down to comp variables, and I'm just going to show you the ones for this current year. And here is where Brick River has set up all of the variables. And this is where I would go in and change the percentage for CPP or CRSP. If you're not comfortable doing this, Brick River can help you with it. I usually will go in and do it. I almost always forget one place to change the percentage. So I've made myself a checklist now for next year. And also in here, it allows me to go in, this is where I would go in and update all of my insurance plans for the compensation record. And it's really easy to do. So yeah, I think that's all I have to do a brief overview of the clergy compensation. It has saved our clergy a ton of time. I have talked to clergy who have been clergy for 30 years and have said this is the easiest compensation form they've ever filled out. So kudos to Brick River. We couldn't be happier with it. We in Wisconsin allow our clergy to fill it out themselves. I know some conferences still have them fill out a paper form and then the DAs enter the information. But because we've permissioned it to the people portal, we allow them to go in and do it. We've also given the SPRC chair permission to see the clergy comp module for the clergy appointed to those churches so that they can go in and review it as well before their church conference meetings.
Okay, so I'm going to transition to the very last segment here in this presentation, and that is our newest module, that is the donations module. And I'll just give a brief overview over that. So this is the new version of Brick River, the new facelifted version of Brick River, and there's all of the different parts of Brick River are actually being given a facelift, but this is the first one. This is the donations module, and we're in a fake organization, the donation demo organization. And what it does is it allows a conference to create donation pages and groups of donation pages. So let's take a peek here on the front end, actually. So here is the Mississippi Conference. And the Mississippi Conference, I talked to them again yesterday. They are right on the goal line here of launching this set of donation pages. And they're grouped into what are called hubs. So if I look here in this fake organization, we can see that there are 7 pages and there are 3 hubs. So you might want to create a hub that's the community hub or the disaster response hub, and then put different pages in there. And you can see how Mississippi has front-ended this. So they've got a donate page, just mississippi-umc.org/donate. And then here's all their camps that you can donate to. And what you'll notice is that donating can happen online, or you can text to donate. So all users have to do is if they text this number, if they text Mississippi-CLS to this number, boom, they'll be able to donate right through their phone. And that can happen through all the different donation pages. So here we can see camps, disaster response. This has already raised money for a few conferences with regards to hurricane relief. So here's Mississippi. They've got their different pages: emergency preparedness, natural disasters, United Methodist Volunteers in Mission. They've got a hub, or just a grouping, if you will, of community centers, the Badur Center, Bethlehem Center, all these different donation pages. So if I were to go missions, so they're launching all of these, and they're going to do a whole communications rollout, and tell people about this over and over again. So let me just pick one. I'll just do the one I was in yesterday. So if I click on this, I can see what a donation page looks like on the front end. So a donation page can have a nice background image, can have a logo. It can allow the donors to donate one time or recurring donations, weekly, monthly, annually. And it can also have quick picks. So let me see if I can find a page. Let me just see here. So here's one in which there are quick picks. This is a fake one, but one time, monthly, annually, and people can say, oh, I'm going to choose this amount. And they can actually put in photos, and they can give examples of how this could help. So maybe you could say, if you give $80 monthly, that will allow us to buy one, windmill or whatever it is. You can buy 6 flood buckets, and give examples. Now, when you build these pages out as well, you can put in videos. You can see who's contributed. You can put in articles. So if I look down here, you can put in impact metrics. Here's how we've helped. You can put in goals, you can put in testimonials, and you can put in news articles or blog posts or case studies that help, I don't know what the word is, help people to, give reason to donate. But let me go here to the Badur Center. Why don't we give them a whopping $2? And I'm gonna, let's give them $2, and I'll hit the next button. And I'll start to fill this form out, Paul Schneider, paul@brickriver.com. And I don't have to fill out all these forms, but as I'm typing, it does the lookup, so I don't have to fill everything out. And there it is. I can leave public comments. Oh, this is great. And I can be anonymous. I can give in memory or honor of different people, and then I can go on and I can donate. And when you donate, let's go ahead and give, I'll say in honor of my father. And we'll go next here. Now, there are different fees. The pages can be funded. Either you can pass the fees on to the donor, you can eat the fees, or you can do what's called tipping, in which the donor can choose to tip some percentage or zero. But this one is, the user can, by default, they're sort of encouraged to cover the fees, or they can choose not to cover the credit card fees. And then in this one, a platform fee is added to the donation. So if I go next, now I'm gonna donate $243, but again, I can give a credit card, I can pay with Google, I can do Apple Pay if I'm on my iPhone, or I can pay via ACH. If I pay via ACH, the fee lowers, it's only 0.08% for the credit card fee. We use Stripe, and Stripe's fees are 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. I think unless you contact them and say, hey, I'm a nonprofit, and then I think if you tell them that, they'll only charge you 2.6%. So if I actually, I'm a little reluctant to do that online here, but if I were to go ahead and give them money, they get an email, and they have a screen in which they can manage their donations. And you can see a lot of these fake donations coming in here, these fake donors. You can see, you can have the donations go to your different funds. You can track households, you can track pledges, you can track the donations by campaigns and appeals, different things like that. So if I were to go to these different pages, I can see, how much money have I raised by fund or cause, or by campaigns, or I can look at various reports. Like, okay, let me see, let's get very, very detailed here. How much money have we raised? Who are our top donors and top households and top donations, and what are our averages, and what's our projected revenue, and how are people giving? Are they giving one time or recurringly? And then how much money are they giving when they give? Are they giving tens, thousands, hundreds, tens of thousands? And then when they give recurringly, are they giving weekly, monthly, yearly? And then when they pay online, how are they paying? So I could actually, and I'm not going to, but I could actually show you legit customers and their actual stuff. And it's really interesting to see what's happening here. But that's what's happening here with this donations module, and more folks are starting to use it every week. Mississippi is right on the goal line. I know Illinois Great Rivers just launched something a week ago, and they're very excited about it. And West Virginia and more conferences are starting to use it. So that is the donations module. And then I think that brings us to the end of our overview of Brick River for conferences that don't know about us. Any final thoughts or words or comments from anybody else?
We're looking forward to working with you.
Yeah, one of the best things for me about Brick River, like obviously I talked about the product and how much I like it, but the relationships that I've formed actually from being a Brick River user, from having a gathering more or less annually, from various community social network kind of things where we answer each other's questions and support one another, in particular in the United Methodist world, although not exclusively. That's just been a really great thing. So when Barbara says looking forward to working with you, that's literally very true for all of us, because we are a community.